Today's your lucky day. We're going to be seeing how John Townsend makes his fried chicken the old-fashioned way. Now, let's get started.
We usually think of fried chicken as, well, traditionally an American dish. But today I'm going to share with you an Old English recipe from 1736 that I think will change the way you make fried chicken. Thanks for joining us today on 18th Century Cooking.
You know, I was always wondering how old fried chicken is, and it may actually even be older than the 1700s. I mean, keep in mind, it's simple ingredients. But let's see if this is going to be a different method than we use today. I have a feeling it is.
The recipe today comes from the little recipe book by Nathan Bailey called Dictionarium Domesticum from 1736. And it's an odd little cookbook. It's set up like a dictionary, so it's in alphabetical order, and this recipe you find under marinade.
Well, that's bizarre. It's a cookbook that's in alphabetical order, and it's under marinade instead of under frying. The one cookbook I do recommend is Le Répertoire de la Cuisine, which I have behind me. It is one of the classic little French cookbooks that every chef should have in the kitchen, especially if you're in European kitchens.
Now this one's actually pretty simple. It starts off with the liquid portion, which is lemon juice and verjus or vinegar.
Verjus?
Verjus is actually a very common ingredient you'll find in early 18th century recipes.
It's a common ingredient in 18th century recipes. Verjus. Does that mean that we have to actually go out and hunt a bear? I mean, where I used to live in Washington State, we used to have like black bears behind us on the property, but still, you know, they fight back.
It comes from the juice of unripe grapes unfermented. And while it's very sour, it actually has a very mild flavor.
Then why do we call it verjus if it comes from unfermented grape? Well, that makes a lot more sense instead of actually going out and hunting a bear for its jus, yeah, for the juice.
If you're going to use vinegar, the vinegar that would have been typical in an 18th century, especially English setting, would be malt vinegar. In the time period, they called it wine vinegar, but it's actually malt vinegar. Today, if you can't find that, or you want to use something that doesn't quite have that kind of a flavor, then you can use cider vinegar or even distilled vinegar.
You could use sherry vinegar as well. Sherry is very common over here in Spain, vinagre de Jerez. But there are a lot of different types of vinegars. Not all of them have the same acidities, just keep that in mind. And the same thing with the flavor. Some of them, like malt vinegar, has a distinct flavor to it.
Lemons were available as well, depending on your location and your social position. And interestingly enough, lemon zest or lemon peel was the second most common type of spice you'll find in many of the 18th century cookbooks.
Interesting. Well, now I know why we have so many lemon desserts. Me personally, I like lemon. Not everybody does. But if any of you ever visit the Italian South and go to Amalfi, which is a very, very famous, wealthy little area, they love lemons, and they will make everything out of lemons, including limoncello.
In this case, I'm opting for the juice of 2 large lemons and an equal amount of distilled vinegar. The recipe suggests salt, pepper, cloves, and bay leaf, but no real amounts here, except for the number of bay leaves, 2 bay leaves. So we're guessing maybe a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of black pepper, and a quarter of a teaspoon of cloves.
Jamie loves cloves. He even added it to beef bourguignon. Makes it Christmassy.
Just a little pinch of ground cloves, the taste of Christmas.
So in other words, this marination, the recipe has a lot of different acids that we're going to be adding to it. Not just vinegar, but we're also adding citric acid with the lemon. Now keep in mind, lemon will actually denaturalize the meat, so this helps to tenderize it.
And the last ingredient is something called chibols. And we had to look that one up. That's spring onions, or as we would call it, green onions. I've got about a half a cup.
Green onions, scallions. Okay, interesting. I never heard that word before.
Shallots are something that you could substitute in this place. Shallots were very common in the 18th century, and it would probably make a very interesting flavor.
The thing is with shallots, and a lot of French recipes also use them for sauces, is because they are a little on the sweeter side. They're not as sharp as an onion. They can still make you cry, okay? Just keep that in mind.
The The recipe calls for quartering your chicken. I've actually cut it up into individual pieces so that it'll go a little farther. The recipe suggests marinating this chicken for 3 hours, and you should probably stick to that. If you use some of the more powerful, like the malt vinegar, it can really enhance the flavor too much. So 3 hours is a good time.
It kind of sounds like John is speaking from experience, no? You know, it's a good thing that John is making this and not Jack, because I could honestly just imagine if Jack was making this recipe right now.
No, God! We're coming up on our 3-hour mark, and it's time to work on the batter portion. And this is a little bit different than what I'm used to. Like our marinade, the batter is also very easy to make. I'm using about 1.5 cups of flour. Just regular all-purpose flour will work fine. And enough white wine, like a Rhenish wine would be good. Adding enough to make this into a thin pancake batter.
Wine to the batter. So basically what we're doing is we're making a batter that is more similar to a fish and chip batter than what we would say use to pane chicken now to make fried chicken. Now the thing is though, if you're going to be making this into more of a fish and chip consistency, it can't be too thick and it can't be too runny. So the best thing to do is dip into the batter and see how fast it pours. If it drips too quickly, add more flour. If it doesn't drip fast enough and it's thick, add a little more liquid.
And finally, I'm going to add the yolks of 3 eggs. You can top this off with a little more wine if you need to get to the right batter consistency. And finally, a teaspoon of salt will finish this off, and mix it so that it's nice and even. If you don't want to use wine, you could use cider instead, or maybe just water.
Or you could also use beer. The thing is though, with the fish and chip batter, it's carbonated, so we either use beer or we also use sparkly water. So if you do want to add a little bit of carbonization, beer would be a good thing.
There was no suggestion of the particular kind of oil to fry in the 18th century. They would have used lard probably, or even a clarified butter. You can use the modern oil of your choice. We are deep frying with oil right over an open fire. Obviously, you have to be very careful when you're doing it like this. You want to heat your oil to about 350 degrees. You should see a little shimmer in the top, definitely not smoking.
I'm glad that he mentioned that, because the thing is that anytime that you have an open flame with oil, it's a little dangerous. You could have a bit of an accident on your hands, so you just need to be very careful. Oh. Interesting. He's not going to dredge it in some flour first. Okay.
We're going to fry this in batches of 3 or 4 pieces, maybe 5 pieces. Really, it depends on the size of your pot. And I'm not sure exactly how long you want to cook it, but you want to get to the point where the color is a nice light mahogany brown.
True, you do want to get it golden brown. But if you're not sure with the legs, if they're done or not, what you can do is just take a knife, cut it open just to make sure that the meat's cooked. You don't want to end up with a situation that we've seen on you know whose channel.
That's great. This did a great job. That's a lot of juice.
Oh, that looks beautiful. Beautiful.
Now, before we serve this, there's just one more component that we need to do: fried parsley. Now, you may think that's strange, but trust me, you'll love it. Before you fry this parsley, make sure it is very, very dry. Completely dry, blot it as much as possible, or the results can be disastrous.
Yeah, again, it sounds like he's speaking from experience. You have to be very careful, because anytime that you throw a lot of water into hot oil, it will start to spit and then it can overflow.
Fry it in small batches for several minutes until it gets nice and crispy. We'll crumble this over the chicken as a tasty garnish. Well, there it is. It looks wonderful. Let's find out just how it tastes.
I have a feeling it's going to be pretty good. Like, seriously. I mean, with all the ingredients, the way that he cooked it as well, it doesn't seem like it's going to taste bad at all. This is one of those videos that you're not left wondering if, you know, how it's going to taste. It's a certainty. I'm sure it tastes good.
Wow, 18th century fried chicken. And the flavors are definitely a little different than what you're used to. That marinade does something really special. You get a little bit of that lemon flavor comes through, just a little bit, a hint of that, a wonderful flavor, and the crispiness. The fried parsley is really interesting. I really love this recipe. This one is great.
I have a feeling that this recipe would be probably a lot better than some of the other recipes during that time period. Not to mean that food didn't probably taste good at that period, it's just that we have a different palate than what they had then, and they were using different ingredients and spices that we don't typically use as often today.
It's great. If you give this one a try, I really hope you go down in the comment section and tell us how it works out. I love this one, and I think everyone should try it. I want to thank you for coming along as we experiment. We try these really interesting things out, this food from history. I want to thank you for joining me as we savor the flavors and the aromas of the 18th century.
Now that was an excellent video. Guys, go over to John's channel and say hi from me. Be sure to give this video a like and a share and subscribe to both of our channels if you haven't done so already. And if you have made this, let us know in the comments down below. Until then, take care.